morning, good afternoon, or as the case may be, good evening. I'm Jonathan Bine from Distribution Strategy Group today, and I'm going to be moderating the panel on how to make your CRM initiative successful. Here's what we're starting to see in the distribution world. Historically, CRM has been a lesser function, often not used. If we use a sun and the moon analogy, the ERP was the sun, the CRM was the moon, a much smaller orb, and a reflection of the sun. But now we're starting to see that CRM is getting the identity of its own. It's becoming its own key integration point for customer-facing functions. Successful distributors are using CRM in much bolder and much deeper ways than ever before. We're going to have, I'll introduce in a moment, panelists from Palmer Donovan, Chadwell Supply, and previously AZP Supply. Before I do that, I'd like to share some information from our sponsors. First is we've got a conference coming up in Chicago. It's the first ever conference about AI for the distribution industry. It's called Applied AI for Distributors. It'll be held October 3rd through 5th at the Chicago Marriott O'Hare. And we'll be welcoming Zach Cass, head of go-to-market for OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, as our opening keynote speaker. We'll have a panel of industry executives talking about the opportunities and risks of AI, and keynote speakers who will help you understand AI, prepare to adopt, and write your AI roadmap. We have a long lineup, in fact, of great technology companies. We just literally announced another 11 who will explain the specific AI enhanced capabilities they offer today, as well as what's coming up in the next 2 years. The exhibit hall will feature demos from tech companies ranging from startups to stalwarts. If you're interested in AI, and who isn't, you won't want to miss this conference. Spaces are limited, so go to distributionstrategy.com and click on the AI event banner on the top of the page today to register. Here's a list of some of the sponsors for the conference I mentioned. We just introduced another 11. The next sponsor is our own Distribution Strategy Group's Customer Experience RX. And what we're doing with Customer Experience RX is helping distributors, smart distributors that are trying to increase customer loyalty to grow both revenue and profitability. So once you know that loyalty leads to growth in revenue and profitability, you also understand that increasing loyalty depends on being able to measure customer satisfaction and improve the customer experience. DSG's Customer Experience RX provides a new and exciting way to measure overall customer satisfaction, but more importantly, to understand the drivers of customer satisfaction and customer experience. If you are using Net Promoter Score or are looking for a new way to systematically improve customer satisfaction and customer experience, reach out to Distribution Strategy Group. And our sponsor today also is White Cup Solutions, and they have CRM and BI that is built for distributors. They've got an amazing suite of different software products. Picture this in terms of BI and CRM. You're able to increase your sales team's close rate by 75% and increase revenue by 20% without adding any headcount to your sales team. That's exactly what White Cup empowers companies to do, providing distributors with the tools they need for success. White Cup's CRM with BI is tailored exclusively for distributors, offering intuitive automation that seamlessly integrates with your ERP system. The result, streamlined process and greater precision in your operation. So here's your next step. Visit whitecupsolutions.com/DSG for a free consultation to unlock your business potential by integrating your ERP with CRM and BI. They will analyze your current sales process and provide actionable strategies, harnessing advanced data analysis techniques. Visit whitecupsolutions.com/DSG today and unlock your distribution business's true potential. White Cup, turn data into dollars. And now I'd like to introduce our panelists. We'd like to welcome Stephanie Kuntz, who's the Director of Marketing at Palmer Donovan, Tara Nebel, who's Head of Enterprise CRM at Chadwell Supply, Dana Lingard, thought leader and consultant, previously of AZP Multifamily. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Good afternoon.
We're going to have a super rich discussion today. I can tell you that all of our panelists have prepared for this. I should mention to our audience, we will take questions. There's a question button at the bottom, so please don't hesitate to ask a question. We'll make a decision about answering it in the moment or perhaps deferring to later. Also, we take questions from people who are identified in the web conference rather than anonymous. So if you ask a question as anonymous, I'll ask you to log back in and identify yourself, and then we'll take your question. So quick round the table. When we talk about implementing CRM, Dana, what CRM were you working with at AZP?
We were working with LeadSmart, so it's built on a Salesforce platform, but it's specifically built for distributors.
Okay, so did it actually use Salesforce as the basis? Were you also Salesforce customers effectively, or?
No, it's just they're a partner of Salesforce, so it's built on that platform, but it's much simpler and more intuitive to use. But it has kind of the force and technology of Salesforce behind it. And then previously, I've used Salesforce as well at previous companies.
Okay, and Tara, how about you?
Yeah, currently, yes, we're on the Microsoft Dynamics CRM or CE. You would hear that.
And Stephanie.
Yep, we're on Microsoft Dynamics as well, but we utilize the Customer Service Hub app instead of the Sales Hub app, which is a new thing for us.
Interesting. And what was behind the decision to use that part of the app rather than the sales?
Our business, so for sales, and this was, not to dive right into it, but we had a failed implementation to begin with. Our partner, they did their job. They led us down the path of doing Sales Hub, but our business is not feeding off of leads and opportunities like a typical. Our business, our customers are established, and so we deal more with the cases and stuff happening and then workflows being built off of that. So instead of us and our sales team feeding information like a typical CRM, they're pushing stuff out and stuff's happening off of those cases requests.
That's a really excellent point. Let's actually expand on that. So I think the idea, maybe Tara weigh in, I think the idea is that the sales funnel pipeline that an SFDC or Dynamics or other CRM, general purpose CRM vendors promote, of lead going to middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. How does that work in distribution, Tara? What's your experience?
That's a great entry point to say that the way our Dynamics instance has been created, it is somewhat customized to distribution. At least for our customers, again, we have a footprint across national accounts where our customers could be a customer or they may not be a customer. It just depends upon the sales rep and their relationship, right, within the property that they visit. So we don't necessarily have a lead funnel. We have what we call opportunities that really is more aligned with our national accounts than it is our individual field sales.
Okay, and say more about what an opportunity looks like. Is it there's a project for like a renovation? Is it?
Yep, there's something specific to a renovation or a special order, or something that there's a new management company that is coming into the specific market that territory sales rep manages. Really, those types of things are put into what we call an opportunity funnel, and then based on who is responsible for that, it then sends the workflow to that team.
Dana, you've been in a fairly similar business. Could you comment on how your funnel and pipeline works
Yeah, similar. So the customer is the piece of dirt, right? The property itself, because that location does not change. But who the contacts are can be very different, and what the opportunities are can be very different. So there could be something on the maintenance side, where there might be a bulk order, right? They might need to change out all of their fire alarms. And so that could funnel through the MRO side of the business. And that could be an opportunity because it's not a one-off sale, it's not an everyday thing. Or to your point, there could be an opportunity where field sales and goes talks to the maintenance guy and learns that they are planning to do a 5-unit renovation every month for the next 18 months. And so that would be an opportunity for the renovation team that would funnel to the renovation team. Or to Tara's point, we learn that a property is selling to a new management company, and that management company may or may not be our customer. Now, all of a sudden, that becomes an opportunity for our BD team to either create a new relationship or possibly manage an existing relationship in a different way, because that existing relationship is adding a property to their portfolio. And so the hierarchy of the users, right, are set up based on those teams. And then there's different opportunity types. We customized our opportunity types and kind of the fields that are selected and the information that is collected based on those opportunity types. And then those opportunity types are linked to those teams to make sure that it's routed appropriately. So one account, one piece of dirt could have multiple opportunities for multiple teams, because there's various things going on at the property level. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world. So one question here is like, how does a small MRO deal manifest in your pipeline? And maybe let's start with you, Dana, or does it, or is it just, the business gets taken and there's not even an opportunity?
So part of that for us is more about the routing of the accounts and the field sales. This goes back to the field sales team and the accountability of them calling on a certain number of accounts and entering those quote unquote notes into the CRM and tracking it that way. So they're not necessarily in our world entering an opportunity for a sale that they're necessarily gathering during those calls. They don't have to enter an opportunity for the sale that they landed at, during that moment. But they do need to put into the CRM that they visited that account and what the outcome of that account was. And it could just be placed in order, and then it goes obviously through the ERP. So consider those kind of interactions true opportunities, but it is collected through the notes of the sales call routings, because the field sales is truly field sales. They're going out to the properties and calling on X amount of properties per day. And then there's reporting on the back end, right? That the sales managers or the VPs, the directors, whatever level, can pull to make sure the field sales team is being as efficient and effective as possible. And we're hitting the right accounts at the right moments by looking at what the results for the field sales are, and then what the overall data is for the account as a whole. Are they up? Are they down? What's their AOS? What's their SPU? All of those kind of things, and kind of merging that kind of anecdotal feedback from the sales team and then the actual data on the account together to make sure the routing's right and we're hitting the right people to get those day-to-day sales.
Just fascinating. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tara.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to echo in to what Dana was saying. So for us, very similar situation. However, she's talking more with her connection with the ERP. Right now, we're going through a very large ERP project where we will be taking our CRM and making that a core piece of the ERP. So today, a lot of the information that we have from our field sales that is going into our CRM doesn't flow back into the ERP. So there's a disconnect right now. And, as we're looking to bring this full picture for the entire organization, that is a huge opportunity for us to see the data at the back end as well.
Here, this is a beautiful continuation into the implementation of CRM. Can you talk to us about your process, timeframes, who's involved, who owns it? Talk to us about that whole thing, and then maybe we'll have Stephanie weigh in, and then Dana.
Sure. So our implementation, I came in halfway through that, but I'll speak to the way I've handled the implementation previously, where what's really core to these particular projects is to look at it as a business focused project, not necessarily an IT focused project. Because what you're really doing is creating an avenue for business operations, sales, IT, everyone to work collaboratively. So with that said, we identify stakeholders from each of those groups, get them together to also work to select a partner. Partner selection, I think, is one of the most critical pieces you can have for a large implementation. And I think Stephanie alluded to this earlier, that she had a failed implementation due to what the partners were doing based on requirements. So it's very important that your stakeholders internally work together to have an agreement on what that partnership is going to look like. Once that partnership is established, you have to hold them accountable. You have to hold them accountable to the deliverables. And really the ownership of those implementation projects should be with the business. The business team should own it, with the IT teams supporting those applications. So Stephanie, I don't know if you had any input on that too.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, we had, I can't, like Tara said, that you can't stress enough how important your partner is. Like our first implementation, like I said, it was successful, and the partners because they checked the list, they did what they needed to do. When we realized engagement was not happening with the sales team because we were not on the right platform, we went through and we probably interviewed 5 or 6 partners that we wanted to work with. And we went through a process, and it took time, but we found a partner that, they took the time to understand our business, understand our processes. They challenged us. I think you want a partner that's going to challenge you, because you're maybe not doing the right things, and they don't want to customize the system because that causes problems down the road, but you also want to be adaptable and flexible. So yeah, choosing your partner is definitely key. Part of our implementation process too was just clean data. That took a good chunk of, our time span for implementation was probably like 6 months with the partner, but we probably spent 3 months just cleaning up our ERP data ahead of the project being started.
Interesting. So you started with the ERP data that flowed into the.
Yep.
Okay. So let me ask a question, and maybe you weigh in, and then Dana. So in software, there's an idea of building the thing right versus building the right thing. Building the thing right means it works according to spec. Building the right thing means you got the right spec to begin with. Were you getting benefit on the spec, on building the right thing from your partner?
You mean,
did they help you understand requirements? Is another way of putting it.
Did we understand? We understood the requirements. I think I'm trying to understand what you're trying to ask. Sorry. We understood like the requirements that they were. I think it was we didn't understand each other. Like we had our business processes that we wanted to do. But yeah, there was a disconnect on what, a typical CRM was doing the first time. Now I think we're on the same page, and they understand, our new partner understands our vision.
Did they add value in your vision, or were they more tactical? Here's our vision, go build this, or did they help you figure out your vision?
Now, our new partner, I'll talk about our new partner because they're great. They are understanding they took the time to understand us, and they understand how we use all our other Microsoft platforms. And yeah, they're helping us build the vision. Like CRM in our world is just going to be a tiny part of it. Like we're looking to integrate Microsoft marketing, Proton AI, we use Power BI, we use all these tools. We want all of this information being put into our CRM, so our sales team has access to all of that. Portals for our customers, portals for our manufacturers. So the data that our team is entering in the CRM portion is being pushed to all of our other partners.
Sorry if my question was urbane.
No, sorry.
Crazy. Dana, how about you? Did they add value just on the implementation, or did they add value on the requirements and strategic side?
So our main partner on the CRM implementation was LeadSmart itself. We had a larger agency that was helping us with kind of our digital transformation. But what we did is our ERP didn't have a lot of open API capability. And we wanted, to Stephanie's point, we wanted to be able to leverage Power BI and other platforms. And so what we did is we also leveraged our partner to create a data warehouse or a data lake per se, so that the ERP data and eventually Google Analytics and everything could go into this data lake, right? And information about our customers, but that maybe the ERP couldn't house, like property features and different things that either they couldn't house or would be really expensive, right, to create custom fields. And as we all know, if you start customizing your ERP too much, you eventually break it, right? And it's money, right? So we created a data warehouse to feed our ERP into, and then we connected the CRM there, we connected our website, we connected Power BI. And so our partner was really about that digital transformation and really helping us there and on the e-commerce side. And then really we leveraged LeadSmart and to be our partner on the implementation side. Internally, it was really about getting on the same page, as they mentioned, with IT as a partner, but also the sales team. I think what happens a lot, whether you're in marketing ops or sales ops or just the marketing team, I think CRM is living much more with the marketing teams now, is that it can become somewhat of a silo, and then sales is brought in towards the end. And it was really important for us to bring the sales team in and really understand how they were going to use it, what data they wanted to see on a day-to-day basis, what made them tick, right, to make sure adoption was as high as possible. So we created an implementation plan, more of a phased approach. So we started with a market rollout first. We our field sales is divided by region. So we picked one region. We set them up as users. We did kind of a basic layout of everything, all the data. We dumped in kind of test data, and we said, do routes, do all your stuff for a time, come back, tell us what's not working, what's not easy, what data is missing, what would you like to see on sales calls. Fixed all of that before we rolled it out to the field sales team, and then we rolled it out to renovations, then we rolled it out to BD, and kind of did it in a phased approach that way, and kind of learned as we go, and quote unquote failed fast, right, when we needed to, versus kind of building this monolithic thing and then realizing a year later that we were missing all these pieces, and it seemed to work a lot better, and we got to market with it a lot faster, and the team was using it much quicker.
So you got an MVP, you got a minimum viable product
Yep.
up first, and then you added stuff on. I love that.
Yep.
About how long did it take from when you began to completion?
About a year.
About a year. Tara, how about you?
So right now I would say typically it's been about a year and a half.
Okay. And Stephanie, your second one was pretty quick, right?
Yeah, because we had the clean data, we had the basis, we had the platform built. And so, yeah, it went a little quicker. We're actually hopefully launching in the next week or two, hopefully.
That's fantastic. Let's talk next about maybe some of the approaches to integration with the ERP. There's 10 years ago, people would have Salesforce.com or whatever the CRM was, and it was just this standalone contact management system, right? Stephanie, starting with you, what's the integration with ERP? What's the level, frequency of synchronization, all of that?
So similar to Dana, we have a data warehouse. So we're also in the process of choosing a new ERP system. So we're going to be starting that journey of a new implementation. But right now we have a data warehouse that's really just pulling out kind of that high level customer information. So customer names, sales, AR information, just the basics, and it's syncing into our system, 3 or 4 times a day. We also have, not on the ERP side, and where marketing, I think, is playing a big part in our CRM, is we have HubSpot. But again, like I said, we're switching over to Microsoft marketing, so it's all integrated. So HubSpot is our contact maintenance and our email stuff, but all of that stuff gets pushed into our CRM system, but it's not being pushed out. So I think down the road, where marketing will come in hand and show their value is when stuff happens. Marketing is automating some of this stuff that's being pushed out. So I see that being more valuable during this transition of the ERP.
It's interesting. So will HubSpot be part of your tech stack a year from now, or what will that look like?
It will not. We will drop that. HubSpot will go away and we'll have Microsoft marketing. So all of our contacts will be managed within there. All of our sales team, the way we use CRM is our sales teams, we're more on that lead measure. So our sales team, they go visit, 5 customers a day. They are doing product training. They're doing placing displays. They're riding with manufacturers. And so when they're entering that information, marketing is now going to be able to take that information and say, okay, here's who the sales team are talking about. Here's what they're doing. And we're building content to then push to those contacts. So right now, HubSpot's pushing in, but the data is not pushing out into HubSpot to automate some of this stuff. So that's a year from now. That's the goal.
Anybody else on Tara? How about you on level of integration, ERP? And
sure. I'll echo what Stephanie said. Like she said, beginning an implementation of ERP, that's where we are today too, with the goal of pushing back and forth. But today we have a one-way integration from the ERP system into the CRM, bringing in that foundational data. So, property information, demographics, AR, those types of things, just to familiarize the sales team that's entering information into the CRM, how to navigate, how to use it, how to communicate with each other and collaborate across the field sales. We're very, very excited to have that full integration, just because you really see the full value of the CRM in that full suite of solutions.
It's amazing. So, seems like it's a different scenario if you are an all or significantly like Microsoft house, right? In terms of your integration. So Stephanie, will your ERP also be Microsoft?
We haven't officially made that decision. Again, hopefully this month we're making that decision. They are one of the options. And I think they're, in my opinion, because I live in Microsoft all day, I would love it to be that route, because the integrations make it very hard. And like Tara said, that one way, a lot of things are just one way, and you want that bi-directional sync. And we're talking to the point with integrations where we use Teams for our phone system. And so within CRM, if we can switch our phone call systems, that contact, you can profile that contact even more, so that we know that Jonathan calls into our system 8 times a day, and here's the things he's asking. And then our sales team can go in and see that, hey, Jonathan called and he was not happy, and we need to figure out what's wrong, and they can listen to the phone call. So for me, I think the ERP data is really important, but I think beyond some of that Microsoft stack is where we're going to find a lot of the value of knowing who our customers are, knowing who we're dealing with, knowing who our contacts are.
That's really promising future. Dana?
I think, to start having the ERP push to the CRM is step one. We started with a nightly sync. It takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of bandwidth, right? To have it be real time or multiple times a day, and it can take a lot of system stuff for IT. So nightly worked for us to begin with. So I think it's just determining for your business, right, how often the information changes and how dramatic the changes are, and kind of what you bite off and how much is IT comfortable, with that, and finding that middle ground, and how much sales was comfortable also with a nightly sync. So that was kind of step one. And then we kind of, it was a plan of kind of eventually going to, ideally you want to get to the point where it's updating real time, right? If there's a large sale or there's some kind of large transaction, that it's pushing real time, but that takes a while to get to. So there's the pie in the sky, and I think it's really about creating that timeline for your business to make sure you have an idea of what makes sense, and going back to that minimal viable product. That nightly sync will probably work for most businesses, and it's the least impactful on all your other systems that are running, because the overnight, right, doesn't impact orders and anything else that's going on, in the world.
Stephanie, you're nodding. Do you imagine real-time sync in a future state, or?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean, knowing that, I think that's where, again, we didn't want CRM to be a administrative task for our salespeople. We don't want them entering information. We want to be pushing the information to them. And so, yeah, that real-time sync, when our vision is when a sales rep is walking into a customer, they're getting, again, we use Power BI. So they're seeing, here's their recent sales, here's the payments they've made, here's the 6 people that have called in, that have chatted in. So again, the ERP data, here's the orders they placed through Connect, here's the orders that they faxed in. So yeah, that real-time data is really important. And I think it's coming from a multiple platforms, not just our ERP system.
Sure.
I mean, yes, everything she just said. But what is very important, I think what I've realized in our current situation, and I go to the data, because if your data, data in that's good is great. Data in that's bad, you're dealing with garbage data, right? So, I think what's really important with these implementations is to really take the time and focus on the fields that are critical for your business, and ensure that there's governance in those data fields, and that you have control over what's going in and out. And I don't mean from a standpoint of policing the data, but to the fact of, if it's really important to your business and the sales folks are going to be utilizing that data, talking to their customers, you need the right story. And having that data prepped and clean and ready to go in for that implementation and serve your customers, I think is one of the most critical pieces, besides we were talking about partners, selecting those partners.
So when we think about 3 different kinds of data that you might need, so you've got the financial data that's synced into the CRM, you've got customer data, including contact, but also firmographic, other stuff, and then you got product data. What you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that's coming into the CRM. You're not relying on a sales rep, God forbid, or a CSR to really provide that. I mean, their task then becomes notes, opportunity tracking, task tracking,
Correct.
and all that's taken off their plate.
And I think you want to, in the CRM, you want to limit the text fields for sales reps. You want as many drop downs and validated fields to get you that. So again, yeah, they're choosing, but you're getting clean data out to say, okay, here's the selections that they chose, and here's what we can report off of and move on to. So we limit the text fields that our sales reps can enter information into.
Yeah, so Jonathan, it's all pushing to them, right? And so for us, it's category penetration, all the information for AR, they can all see that, they can't edit it, right? It's all about creating, kind of to Tara's point, that story that we want them to absorb, and then do what they do, right? And have that sales pitch when they walk into the customer. But then there's reports, right, that CRM has where they can go in and slice and dice kind of that data that we've provided, right, and start to see trends. And that's kind of where some of the training and some of kind of more of that strategic thinking comes in, that you need to be very consistent with the sales team on. So they become less tactical, right? It's less about kind of the order taking. Yes, you want them to be good about taking notes, and there is an admin part to CRM data in a certain extent. It's really about teaching them how to look at all of that data. And some are really good at it. Some, need some additional training, and really being that strategic look of, okay, now you have all of this data in one standpoint. What are you going to do with it? And so you really sales leaders at that point, right? And develop kind of reporting templates that they can pull and kind of mine data and find kind of these nuggets, right, of consistencies, bad or good, from their customer base, that maybe they can find some opportunities and some ability to grow their portfolio that maybe they didn't realize existed, because they just didn't have all the pieces for all their customers in one place.
So we've alluded to a couple of things that might be coming into your system. Tara, let's start with you. What third party, what other data sources are you looking to bring in? Now that we're viewing CRM as an integration point, the way we view ERP as an integration point, what are the sources of things you're looking to bring in?
So again, we are a Microsoft house as well. So when we are looking at integrating our new ERP system, that will be coming in. We will be having the customer service hub. Stephanie, to your point, that's what you're doing. We're going to be looking at that app. We're also going to be looking at creating power apps through Microsoft, where we have the capability of allowing our sales reps to enter an order or enter a quote that will then feed through the CRM. Those types of things, as Stephanie was talking to the robustness of the Microsoft platform, we will have that capability. So we're trying to not overcomplicate by bringing in all these additional third parties and pulling in data sources. We're really looking at trying to simplify it with utilizing our core data and just keeping it centralized. The only other pieces that we have today that are integrated are our routing software. So for us, our field sales reps, could have up to 200 accounts, 300 accounts that they are responsible for. So we provide them a routing application where they can put their property addresses in for the week, and they can determine, okay, so Monday, this is my route. I'm going to do all of this on Monday, and the application will, optimize it for them and provide them directions. So it is a really cool tool for them that will enable them to even make notes from that interface that pushes into the CRM. So that is a benefit for them as they're visiting all of these properties. So we do that. And other than that, just with the data coming from our third party or from our ERP, those are all the integrations we have to date.
Okay, so CoStar and LoopNet are big players in your space.
Yes.
So these third parties provide detailed information on commercial properties? So you want to?
Yes, but yes, ALN and CoStar. Mm-hmm.
So is that something that makes its way into?
So to answer that question, I will tell you we do have a feed into the ERP today for some of it, not all of it. My goal would be to create an ALN or CoStar, depending upon what the sales team really feels is the most beneficial, and maybe both without complicating it. But to allow them to compare the ALN data with what they have on their account, because as we know, contacts change quickly. Turnover in our industry happens quite frequently. So, we may have a new account rep, or we may have a new maintenance supervisor, or whatever the case may be at that property. That ALN data could be very helpful at their fingertips, but we do not have that currently today.
Dana, how about you in terms of the third party?
For us, it's the marketing automation tool. So LeadSmart has a marketing automation tool, and what's cool is you can connect it and you can also connect your social components to it. And what it'll do is it'll tell the sales team in the CRM whether or not at a contact level they're hot or cold, right? So they can be hot or cold from a sales perspective based on year-over-year sales or SPU, AOS, whatever you're considering as your KPI. But then it can tell you whether or not that contact is hot or cold from a marketing perspective based on whatever KPIs you want to tell it, that they've opened an email or they've clicked on a link. And Lead Smart's really cool because it's very visual. So like if sales are up, it literally has a green or red arrow. If they're hot or cold, it's like if they're cold, it's literally like a snowflake versus like if they're hot, it's like a fire emoji, which is really great for the sales team because it's super easy for them to identify really quick who are people to go after because they're really engaged, or maybe go after because they know that, you know, this industry, a lot of people know each other just because they've been in it forever, right? So they've known Bob, you know, at ABC Industry forever. And why is he so cold, right? He's known our company for a long time. I have to go with him because he should be engaging with us. So the idea of having that marketing component visible to the sales team without the marketing team just to have to a certain extent be the peanut teachers, right? And always have to be in the background, be kind of feeding it to them in kind of a presentation standpoint is a great way for the marketing team to kind of build that partnership with the sales team and then make sure we're going after the same customers. And so those touch points become much more consistent. And they're getting the face-to-face from the sales team, and then they're consistently getting those personalized messages, you know, and segmented messages from the marketing team, and we can go at it in the same direction versus we're talking to this team over here, and then the sales team's, you know, talking to a whole another group because it's just hard sometimes to stay focused, right?
Perennial problem. We have a really terrific question from Eric, and the question is about how transparent are distributors and suppliers in terms of lead and opportunity generation? So I'm thinking this may depend a large part on the industry. There are industries where there's significant lead sharing from the supplier to the distributor. Are any of you experiencing that relationship with suppliers now? Steph?
We're currently working again with Microsoft on a portal for our suppliers. And so we're working with, you know, we're starting this off. Our analytics team spends a lot of time doing these monthly reports for some of our suppliers. And so phase one of this project is here's a supplier can log into this portal, see those reports, those monthly reports that we supply them. But phase two is then taking the data from our CRM and pushing it into there. So, hey, we placed 5 displays at these customers. You know, do you want to follow up? I think you do it with, I think we are baby stepping into that, and we're going to, you know, select the manufacturers or the suppliers that we choose to do it with. But we want that information going back and forth with them, because then it's, you know, we get Excel sheets and spreadsheets of here's targets that our suppliers are sending to us, but there's no consistency. So we're trying to get to that portal where there is that consistency and that flow back and forth of targets and leads.
Kara, how about for Chadwell?
Yeah, and I would agree with Stephanie. It's definitely a baby step process. I think for us, our foundation is really getting the sales team on board with the CRM, and then our marketing team really is focused on that supplier relationship. But ironically, last week our one of our leaders from the marketing team said, "Hey, you know, I'd really like to look at starting to do this within the CRM." And you know, I smiled. I was like, that would be lovely, wouldn't it, to be able to track everything and communicate back and forth. So, you know, it is one of those future focused visions. We're just not there yet.
Got it. I want to shift to a really important topic, which is the whole aspect of driving adoption and creating buy-in and utilization of the CRM. So, you know, when we looked historically at CRM and we've done surveys, you find often very low utilization. by virtue of you being here, I know you are not in that category. What are keys to driving utilization? First of all, who are the stakeholders, Dana? Is it customer services? Who are the stakeholders? How did you drive utilization and adoption? What did that look like? Was there an adoption curve? Was there, like, 5 power users and then people started following them? Take us through how you drove adoption.
So the big users are sales and marketing in our world. Customer service wasn't initially, they were kind of down the line as far as using the system. They had their own workflow ticketing system. And then there was some back-end office staff that was using it as well from an AR perspective, things of that nature. But really, first and foremost, it was getting the buy-in of the sales leadership. They were in the kickoff meetings, they were in objective setting meetings, they were in from the very beginning. And then, as I mentioned, the phase rollout. So we started with that market rollout, identified some subject matter experts. They became kind of the cheerleaders, right, of the CRM. And then as we rolled it out, we identified some people that were really good at using the system, and then really good at just entering the notes and utilizing the system to the best of their ability, because there was an app, they could go on their computer and use it. There was various ways they could get in and use it. And so each kind of region identified kind of the trainers. But every time we rolled it out, we had a kickoff call, we recorded it. LeadSmart kind of has a homepage where we can load up videos. So we're recording everything, had all the video recorded, easy access. And then we had check-ins with leaders every so often throughout that first year. And then our sales leaders were just our rallying cry. If you don't have your leaders on board and they're not holding their team accountable and they're not all about the CRM, you've lost before you've started. So you need to get them involved day one and make sure they're on board and they feel part of the process, and you're meeting their objectives from the start. And I think sometimes sales isn't brought in until later, and I think that dooms a lot of these projects.
How well did it work? I'm curious.
I think it worked well. Honestly, I've done this before and we have it. I really liked the phased rollout approach. It allows you to kind of group the team in smaller groups. And obviously, if your sales team is a lot smaller, maybe you don't need to do this. But if you have multiple, decent sized team and kind of multiple functions within the sales team, I think it's important. And I think it works because you really kind of, they feel like they're getting the dedicated support, and they really feel like they have the time to really learn the system before you start kind of loading in other people. And also having a dedicated person or people to really be able to, it doesn't have to be a full-time job, right? But somewhere that they know that they can go for help and support, and setting those kind of service level agreements similar to a customer service team would do. If a request comes in to change data, or if there's an issue with the user, or whatever the case may be, make sure that you've really communicated those server levels agreements and you're sticking to it, because you've got to hold up your end of the bargain, right? To make sure that you're fixing any problems, or if you can't fix them quickly, that you're communicating well to the sales team. And it's a give and take that way, right? And then they start to feel like part of the team, and they hold up their end of the bargain much better. But the phased rollout to me works a lot better versus the global rollout. I had much more success this time around.
As a old-time software guy, I can tell you that the waterfall model is dead, and phased iterative is the way to go. Okay, Steph, briefly, who are the stakeholders? How do you drive utilization? How well is it working?
For us, very similar process to Dana. The sales team was our main stakeholder, the sales managers. I think, going through phase 2 of our implementation, one thing we noticed after engagement wasn't there with the initial launch, we realized that we have this great platform in Microsoft, and we want to bring all the value in there, but we gave our sales team, they didn't have the right tool to utilize this platform out in the field. So they had a laptop that did not have Wi-Fi enabled, or they had their phone. And so they're scrolling and zooming in on their phone, trying to see all this important data. So part of our new implementation, last year, our entire sales team got a new Microsoft Surface tablet that has Wi-Fi enabled, and they can write on their pen. A lot of these guys are dropping the notebooks and they're using OneNote, which is great too. So I think along with our journey with our new partner, we're gaining adoption because of the tools. We're providing the right tool to our guys to use the platform out in the field.
Terrific. Tara.
Yeah, I'll echo their sentiments on that, but I will also say that I think historically, CRMs have been known as the police, right? And folks are automatically adverse when they hear the name CRM. So one thing that we did when we first launched it was we didn't say it was a CRM. We said it's Sales Hub. This is where you're going to go for all things sales. It will be your gold mine, so to speak. And that's really kind of where we're leading it down the road, is it will be their one-stop shop for everything. And not only that, but I think one thing that's extremely important in any implementation, regardless of what you're doing, is you're looking at your user base and you're designing for them. You're not designing for what the latest trend is or what the cool technical automation would be. It's what is going to allow those users, either in the field or in marketing or whatever the case may be, what is going to allow them to do their job efficiently and productively without causing a lot of time consumption. And what I found in talking with some of our users is we missed the boat on some of that. And now we're going back and re-engaging with them and finding out that, hey, we need to do things a little bit differently. But the point here is they're going to adopt it because we're listening to them. And I think at the end of the day, you listen to them and you show that you did by proving the action, they're going to buy in.
So here's a thing that's probably a different idea than 8 or 10 years ago in CRM. It's about people getting information out of the system rather than having to put information into the system. It's about there being inherent value rather than a fiat for management that says thou shalt. Is that a fair summation of your experiences in driving?
Absolutely. And I would also say to, from a leadership perspective, as I talk to leaders at Chadwell, they want to look at it as a reporting tool. They want to be able to go in and see the data quickly and be able to make actionable decisions. They don't have time to go in and look and see if Bobby went to this property yesterday. So I think that's one thing that's a misconception with folks, and it's scary to think that, but in reality, we've moved way past that.
Yeah, I think, sorry, go ahead. I
Go
think it's, really, if you use the CRM right, it's about increasing productivity and efficiency. It's shifting the sales paradigm, at least in our world, on building relationships and closing deals versus being an administrative task order taker, right? And the CRM, right, allows you to have access to be more of that strategic kind of relationship builder and less of kind of just that day-to-day order taker, because you didn't have access to all information. So you're just kind of reacting to whatever that customer needs in a given moment, because you just didn't have access to kind of the historical kind of information. And when you have 300, 400, 500 accounts, there's no way, right, that you can know everything about every customer up here, right, in your head. And I love what Tara said. It really gives the leaders that global insight and the ability to kind of have those high level reports. It's not about like this kind of nitpicky onesie twosie thing. I think a lot of people think CRM is used for. It's to, again, have that visibility to more of those insights and trends versus kind of those individual kind of hiccups.
We have time for one question from the audience that I want Stephanie to address. So after your failed CRM, how did you gain your users' trust and get them to adopt CRM a second time?
We got the right partner, and they helped. We had that team. We picked, I think, 6 or 7 sales reps, and they were part of the discussion, and our partner took the time. I mean, we were probably on a call, 6 hours over, 2, 3, 4 weeks talking to the sales team, and they started to trust our partner. And then they brought that same sales team back in and said, okay, here's what we're thinking. Here's what we want to do. So it was just getting, again, I think to both Terry and Dana's point, it's like getting the users' feedback and then really showing that you're using it and putting it into play. We're still working through it. And I think the thing is like for us, again, you CRM is a massive project, but start slow, go with that minimal, MVP. Don't try to do a million things at one time. For us now, the second time around, we just care about the lead measures that the sales team are putting in. We don't want to know all this other stuff. Like, let's start here, show the value that what you're doing is bringing value, and then we'll slowly start to add stuff on. So I think.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for a riveting discussion today. And what I would say to our audience, CRM is real, and leading distributors are getting value from CRM. It's not just some checkbox thing. So I really encourage our audience to take the counsel that has been shared today and go forward with CRM. I want to share a couple of things that are upcoming for distribution strategy groups. So next week on Wednesday, we've got Pat Hanrahan, Vice President of Biz Dev at Newman Group, talking on warehouse and supply chain technology, sponsored by Epicor. I can tell you, this guy has got a wealth of knowledge about exactly this topic. So definitely a worthwhile one to catch. Almost a week later on the Tuesday, we're going to be having a technology leader panel sponsored by Epicor on cash flow and financial management systems. So be sure to tune into those. Okay, panelists, again, thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm.